Welcome back to the channel. It is muggy as all hell outside. We just had rain for the first time in Texas. It's killing right now. Anyways, I'm going to try to keep this super short and sweet because there's a lot of stuff in front of you that you've probably never seen on this channel yet. And this is going to be a pretty long intro. So this video right here, this is not a how-to video or to show you guys anything. Slight review on this guy that I picked up. And I only say that because I haven't used one of the Esab machines, I think like once in my life. And at that time it was already set up for me, so I didn't do anything. But this machine does have some different, same as like any other welder, it's just like a different, I guess, like UI or whatever you want to call it. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to set up. So what we are going to be doing is, in the title of this video, I am going to build my own little fab table to kind of like have a workstation to do fab work with using just scrap metal. And with that first step, because it's not going to be on the video, but you should draw it out on a piece of paper, make a little blueprint of your idea and put it on paper. That way you have a better, I guess, foundation to work with. Mine's currently changing because I was going to go buy brand new metal, and I was thinking to myself, wait, I'm just making myself a table and it just has to work. It's not going to be for anybody else but me. And why don't I do something kind of cool with the project? So, and that's where I thought, oh, I'll buy the scrap metal. And here's the idea I have, which on my piece of paper, it's a box, right? It's got a floor, it's got beams, and it's kind of like framed out. And it's got a top, and then I was going to put a plate on. I was going to make some boxes. I'm probably still going to do all that. It just depends. Now I just have to build it first, put the top piece on, and then kind of see what I think of it before I go more with my drawing. I might actually change it here in a minute because I don't know if I have enough material to make a box. I have to measure all this out and cut. I know how many pieces at what length I need in order to frame it, basically. And if I could do that with all this material right here and kind of redesign it, I got some tube, I got some flat, so I got a couple other pieces I could try different things with and see what I can make with it. But if not, I'll be going with a completely different plan that I have, which is going to be like a two-post style, so just on the sides, and it's going to be beamed down so it stands fine. Anyways, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, I got to get into it. I got to lay out a lot of this stuff. I got to measure it, and then I got to cut it. And then after I cut the pieces I need, then I'm going to clean it up and get it prepped for welding. Now, I didn't say I was going to jump into this in my little intro, but I forgot to do that. Anyways, I'm just starting my measurements and getting the pieces that I can use, because as you can see, there's a lot of pieces in this that are not usable. So go ahead and marked it up and then started cutting right away. Shortly here, you'll see me make a mistake, and it was really funny because this whole time I'm cutting all these pieces, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, it'd be really nice to have a table to do all this, because my back was having a freaking field day the next day. And here we go, I'm measuring everything out, bullshitting with my roommate for a little bit, and right about here, I'm going to stop here and look around and be like, oh, what did I mess up? Because I didn't mess anything up, but I forgot to measure out the 45 degree cuts, because that's what I needed to frame out the top piece. So I kind of messed that up, but I caught it early, so I was able to get all those 45 degree cuts beforehand. But here's my favorite part, because I love this tool. I get to just beat shit with a hammer, and that's kind of my favorite part about what I do and working on cars, being able to use a hammer. Well, anything's really a hammer if you think about it. I mean, your impact's a hammer. We just call that the electric hammer, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a hammer. You just smack it. I broke one of my fingernails off, crazy story, by doing that. So also, if you use it improperly, you could also hurt yourself. So be careful with that. But here I am making the cuts on this piece here. I kind of messed up. If you look really closely, you can see where I have two lines. I marked one backwards by mistake. And I don't know if it's in this clip, but I actually start to cut the wrong side because I put an X through it. But the X was it was already looking like an X. And it was so close to the line that I got really confused. So it's really important to make sure you do all your lines and everything like this, you know, as best as you possibly can, because it is really easy to get confused and forget where you're at. Here's a piece I'm cutting right now because I'm gonna have to make a a leg, I guess, essentially. So I cut that piece off. I think I was using part of that, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm dumb, I have to cut that piece off for a straight piece. And then I rethink the whole thing, and I'm like, all right, I'll just cut this and we'll weld this up. And here in the next clip, I'm actually going to use the welder to get it put together. But it's just a lot of measuring and making sure your cuts are straight. The way I do it is I score my stuff, and then when I get to the corners, I just do a slight like slit in the corner and then flip it and then go straight and score it again. I've always had fairly almost perfectly straight cuts every time doing it that way, and that's just how I've also learned how to do this kind of work. So it works for me. I don't know if it's going to work for other people, but that's just how I do it if you are looking for a way to kind of start. And scoring is just kind of like going over it real quick without cutting all the way through. And here's the actual pieces that I'm going to cut, and I kind of show you the marks. And then on the top here is kind of my measurement and how I kind of written it out. But I needed basically -3 inches. The pieces I had equaled 51, and I needed 48 inches. So I subtract 1 from one piece and subtract 2 from another piece. Well, one of the pieces was 21 inches. And that's just how I did it, just to make sure I got an even 48 inches out of the whole thing. And because you can see some of the bends in the metal, I have to cut around that to make this work. And again, I'm not a professional by any means, yet. So I have it set up here. I tried to use that other bar as kind of like a straight edge to keep it straight, but because the scrap metal itself was already pretty twisted and warped and everything like that, I got it as good as I possibly could, because I already tacked it up, so I already held it together as best as I could. And there's that. So I'm doing like little tacks and everything like that right now. That's simply because this is my first time firing up this machine. I set it up pretty high. I did really low wire speed, and I was just having issues, and I wasn't remembering stuff while I was in this. I was thinking about like, why is it doing like this? Why is it? I'll just tack it and just go all the way through like that. Later on, I throw some beads down when I'm actually welding the whole table. But right there, I try to throw a whole bead, and I'm like, oh, that worked out really great. I'm gonna try it again, I think. And I don't know. Nope, I don't, because I did not think that went through at all. Oh, there we go. Nice, AJ. Good job, dude. Anyway, so knock that piece out, and then I gonna try to like square up the next piece, and that was definitely a challenge. So the issue I had with trying to square this thing up was that because I had to cut and weld crappy material, and it wasn't straight to begin with, or anything like that, I tried to make it as good as I possibly could, but given the situation I'm in, it is what it is. So I was about an inch at a square, which, I mean, really, working with scrap metal that you had to kind of make work, I don't know. To me, that's not that bad. I've worked with worse before. It's obviously important to stay in square, but, it is what it is. Here, I'm just kind of welding it up as best as I could. Made some adjustments to the machine. It was working a lot better. I was still having some issues to where my wire was blowing off. Beforehand, it wasn't until later I started remembering, like, oh yeah, that's because my wire speed's too low, and it's just cooking it up before it even hits the material. So that there is a lot of me tacking it. I'm also tacking it because I have these gaps in it too, because again, the metal's all twisted, it's not perfect, yada yada yada. So but I get this top part welded up just fine, and it's gonna hold, and we'll move on to the next part. Now, this is what I was talking about with working with some of the material. Is you can see this third piece I have that's by himself, this one right here. You can see it's kind of like bowed a little bit. And that's what I was trying to avoid. I was about to use that piece. Now, I didn't realize that one of the other pieces was a little bit bowed. And then I didn't really weld this one properly, and you'll see at the end. And now you get to watch me with some of my mistakes and irritation. My first was my hood right there. Don't know why, but it kept falling on me. But this is like the next day, and I missed that tack. All right. Yep. Good job, dummy. Now, am I going to miss the other one? I think so. I'm willing to bet I'm going to. And totally missed it again. All right. And it was third time the charm. Nope. Ain't happening, Chief. Yeah, so I completely screwed all this up. I don't know. I was having an off time or something. I don't know. Something was going on. And anyways, I finally got one on there. And then we get the other one on there. I did mark those out, by the way. So I marked it out where the legs needed to be. So it was pretty much centered. And, looked good. The next leg, and I don't film it. Again, I'm going to show it at the very end because it was the biggest mistake. But it wasn't really a mistake that I had a whole lot of control over. I did the best I could, but it turned out the way it did. But anyways, so get this leg welded up, and then I'm gonna put it on. And when putting all this on, I actually got the machine set up pretty well at this point. There's still some minor adjustments I made. I really didn't get the machine set up perfectly for this type of project I was doing until or at least like within the range of like working like this. Like this is kind of like where I kind of want to be in whenever I do stuff like this and make my adjustments when I need to. Depending, it took me a while to find this sweet spot, I guess. And anyways, you can see I'm flowing with it a lot better now. But again, it doesn't get really better until like I get to the top side of the table, which is great because that's really the side most people are gonna see. So for me, it's like, yeah, whatever. But it's just, it is what it is. So I finished welding this up. I do this leg and I do the other leg exactly the same way. But I wanted to get this one on first to kind of like get my measurements and see where I'm at before I go to the other side, because I knew it was going to be a headache, and it was. And again, wait till the end of the video, I'll show you. And while I grind this table down here for welding, I just want to run this by you guys with what I have here on the screen. This is a limited time t-shirt sale that I will be doing. There'll be some options on the website. The website to purchase these t-shirts will be in the description below. And if you're also looking for a graphic designer yourself, I'm going to have the link to the person that I used for this particular design. But I am only going to be selling these t-shirts for 3 months. In the future, I'll run more. We'll be doing more merch and stuff like that. But for right now, I'm only going to do a limited time on this design currently. And yeah, so it'll be available for 3 months starting when this video drops. So if you guys head over there, pick yourself up a t-shirt, I'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll move on to the rest of this video now. All right, I am finally done. And now, before I actually jump into showing you guys the table, you might actually be able to see it on the camera. We have 2 major mistakes, which kind of caused a third mistake. The third mistake being it's a little rocky. I can fix that, not a big deal. But there's 2 mistakes that I'm going to show you more close up here in a second. But first, me building this table wasn't like, oh my God, look what I can do, I'm the best. No, I'm far from it. I am what I like to call a beginner pro. So that means I have the basic idea of how to do this stuff, and I could definitely go do it for work and be really good at it to get stuff done. But there's a lot of other stuff I can improve on and do better at. This was an excuse to make really cool content that I haven't made in like a really long time, or at least I feel like I haven't made any like really cool content in like recent times. I've made stuff that I've been passionate about, but this is what I really like to do, is just create stuff. On top of that, it was an excuse to also test out the welder that I got, because it is very different. It actually very much reminds me, after going through it, very much reminds me of the miller that we used to use back at the fab shop. Very similar. So the way it feels, the way just the way it works. I don't know all the science terms, but it feels like that, which is great because I was a killer welder, and once I got used to that welder, oh, it was phenomenal. I had never had any issues whatsoever. But again, this isn't like, holy shit, I didn't make the perfect table. I made a functional table, which is exactly what I need. This will work for me for most of everything I do at my shop, as far as like needing to sit down and TIG something, or weld up a small piece, or just cut and grind, or just have a table to like lay stuff out on and be like, okay. First up on the list of mistakes. So a lot of these mistakes now, I want to just make excuses and blame the fact that I was using scrap metal, which is a pretty valid excuse because it's true. I was able to get 3 good straight pieces out of the scrap pile that I got, and then I had to make some. I had a hiccup there, but try to cut the pieces that were good to weld together, and I had to do that for this leg and this back piece. Which this back piece here is a little bowed out, so we're out of square. I did everything other than adding more material to try to make it square, which I didn't really have. That was like the only other option. So it is what it is. It's a little bit out of square, but it's leveled, which is the most important thing for this particular thing that I'm using. Then this leg is a little twisted, and I try to keep it as straight as possible, but it is what it is. So it has a little bit of a rock to it, but I can fix that. So that's not a huge issue. Both of these issues aren't really big issues. What makes them like a terrible issue is if this was going to be a project I was doing for a customer. Now, obviously, I wouldn't use scrap. If somebody was like, hey, can you build me a table? I'd be like, yeah, here's the price of materials. We would not use any scrap because scrap metal makes it a headache. And I knew that was going to be. So the way it came out with scrap metal, I'm actually pretty happy with it because I was not expecting it to be this good at least. And so overall with this table, pretty happy with it. 7 out of 10, I would say. Towards the end, I started to figure out like where I liked the machine to be at to, you know, kind of start getting better welds. I actually just started getting better welds towards the end here. So, like I said, trial and error. That's literally how all of this works. If you're somebody who's watching this and you're brand new to it and you're curious, just buy. Don't ball out like I did, but you know, go buy a cheap welder and just go to town and start learning it, and you'll get good at it, and you'll see how your welds look on a crappy welder, and then you upgrade to a better welder, and then you get used to those settings, and you already have a really good idea of like what you're looking for. So you just kind of adjust it to how the settings are on like these bad boys, and you're on your way. All right, and with that, I am going to get out of here and finish this up. There's gonna be more stuff being welded to it. I'm gonna put some hooks on it. I'm gonna build some drawers. I'm gonna build a cubby hole, a rack in the back for brazing rods and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to be doing to this over time. So in future content, you might see this table taking on more than it probably should handle. But we'll really push the limits on this table and see how far we can go with the fab skills and what we can make out of it. And this is 100% like a practice table. As long as it's functional and it's still functional, we'll be okay. So if you guys have any other questions, you can leave them down in the comments for me. I'll get to them. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video as well. And I will see you guys all in the next video. And you all have a great rest of the week. Do something new tomorrow. Lolo, get back. Hey, she's tasting a squirrel. Make the most out of tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.